Welcome to a Sober Shepherds podcast. My name is David Weitz. There's a truth sitting in all of us we don't normally put a microphone in front of. Not the drunk and drug stories, not the crash and burns, not even the big spiritual aha moments. I want to step into the part that happens once the dust settles, the quiet part, the part nobody claps for. Because somewhere in the middle of all this, I realize something nobody tells you when you first start rebuilding your life. Waiting hurts. Not in a dramatic way, not in a my world is ending way. It's much quieter than that. It's more like a low, steady hum behind the ribs, like a smoke detector with a dying battery. It doesn't scream at you, it just chirps every so often and reminds you, hey, something's not resolved yet. It's that part of you that wants certainty yesterday, but already knows on some level God hasn't delivered today's tracking number yet. And that's where I've been living lately. Not in despair, not in hopelessness, just in the ache. The ache of doing the right thing every day with no applause, like showing up to a job where the time clock works, but the employee of the month wall is permanently blank. Like working on a house that's still just blueprints and foundation, but in your mind you already know what the front porch smells like in the rain. That weird hallway between before and after, where you've already moved out of one life, but the keys to the next one haven't been handed to you yet. And if you're listening to this, you probably know that ache too. See, nobody told me that sobriety wouldn't just rebuild my life. It would also teach me to wait. To wait on God, which really means admitting that I'm not the project manager of the universe anymore. It means I don't get to call heaven's customer service line and ask for an estimated delivery time on my miracle. To wait on timing. Not my timing. Not Amazon Prime timing. Not I've been good for 6 months, where's my reward timing? It's learning that just because I'm emotionally ready doesn't mean the rest of the puzzle pieces are in place yet. To wait on the roots to settle. Like planting a tree and resisting the urge to dig it up every 3 days to check the progress. In recovery, that looks like sticking with healthy routines long enough for them to become who you are, not just who you're trying to be this month. To wait on an oak tree to grow. Understanding that oak trees aren't built on 30-day challenges. They're built on seasons, storms, summers, winters, years of invisible work under the soil before anyone ever parks their car in the shade. To wait on the next brick to matter, even when no one sees it but me. That means laying today's brick like it's a part of a cathedral, not a shed, even if from the outside it still just looks like another block in the dirt. And somewhere in all that, I realized something uncomfortable. Waiting is a way of exposing what you worship. Because when you take away instant results, you see pretty quickly what you've been bowing to. And lately, it's shown me that I still worship certainty more than I thought. I like guarantees. I like knowing how the story ends before I commit to the next chapter. I like spiritual spoiler alerts. But here's the part that surprised me. Waiting isn't punishment. Waiting is preparation. Waiting thins out the noise. Because when life slows down, you notice what you've been using to drown out your own thoughts. Scrolling, snacking, performing, people-pleasing. Waiting turns the volume down on all that so you can actually hear what hurts and what heals. Waiting tests your motives. It asks, are you doing this because you love God and value sobriety? Or because you're hoping for a quick payout? Would you still show up if nobody clapped? Nobody liked? Nobody shared? Nobody paid? Waiting strips you down until the only thing left standing is faith. Not the kind you quote, the kind you live, the kind that still gets up, still goes to the meeting, still does the next right thing, even when the metrics don't move and the phone doesn't ring and the numbers don't climb. And maybe that's the point. Because right now, I don't feel broken. I don't feel defeated. I don't feel like I'm spiraling. I just feel the ache. The ache of a man who's been building something that matters, slowly, honestly, brick by brick, with no guarantee other than the quiet conviction that's been burned into my bones. Because I believe God doesn't start things he won't finish. It's not desperation. It's not fear. It's not failure. It's the ache of waiting. And if that's where you are too, you're not behind. You're not off track. You're not forgotten. You're right on time. Because there's a part of waiting nobody talks about. The anger. Not the rage at the world anger. Not the send the burger back because it's still mooing kind of anger. I'm talking about the quiet, holy kind. The kind that doesn't explode. It simmers. It sits under the skin like a pilot light you didn't ask for but still can't turn off. It's the anger that shows up when you know you're meant for more, but every morning the GPS still says recalculating. Like God updated the destination but forgot to send you the route. And that anger, it's real. And pretending it doesn't exist is like trying to pretend your check engine light isn't on. It's still there, still blinking, still waiting for you to deal with it. Because for months now, I've been living in that tension. The fury in my chest and the faith in my gut sitting across from each other like two coworkers forced to share a cubicle. Polite, tight-lipped, and barely tolerating each other, but neither of us is leaving the office. That's the table I've been eating at. Because I don't have the job I gave 8 years to anymore. And that stings like a phantom limb. You reach for something that used to be there, and your hand just closes around air. I don't have the financial security I once had. That cushion, that safety net, that we're good for the month feeling. Right now it feels more like walking a tightrope with no crowd underneath. Just me, God, and gravity, and hoping the wind doesn't pick up. I don't have a partner waiting at home. No one to debrief the day with. No soft landing. No, I'm proud of you. It's like coming home to an empty theater after performing for a room full of people. All the lights off, all the seats empty. And every morning I wake up, the same truth hits me. This season is not in my control, but it is absolutely in God's hands. And that combination, surrender plus uncertainty, will put a knot in any man's chest. Because here's the truth I don't hide anymore. I get lonely. I get scared. I get tired of being my own motivational speaker every day. Some days it feels like giving a pep talk to a mirror that isn't convinced. And yet I keep showing up. For meetings, even when my brain says skip it, my spirit says, you know better. It's like dragging your body to the gym knowing you'll feel worse if you don't go. For my dogs, because they don't care about my mood. They care I show up. Dogs don't need explanations. They need presence. When it's time to write, because a blank screen is like a spiritual mirror. It reflects exactly where I'm at, not where I pretend to be. My digital storytelling, because someone out there needs the reel I haven't made yet. The right 30 seconds at the right time can save a life. Because waiting doesn't mean do nothing. Waiting means doing the next faithful thing, like a farmer tending soil weeks before he ever sees a sprout. And that's where faith comes in. Faith isn't shouting from rooftops. Faith is showing up at ground level where the work is quiet, unglamorous, and absolutely essential. Faith is making reels for 50 people like they're 50,000, because God won't trust you with the crowd if you can't be faithful with a handful. Faith is walking into a room full of broken people and making them feel welcome even when you don't feel welcome in your own life. Because sometimes healing someone else's loneliness is how God heals a piece of yours. Faith is planting your flag in a calling that makes no financial sense, no emotional sense, no earthly sense, but makes perfect spiritual sense because heaven whispered it before you ever did. Faith is trusting that God doesn't waste faithful men. Not one. Not ever. And if I'm honest, I think God trusts me more in the waiting than he ever did in the winning. Because in the winning, you forget who got you there. Victory has a short memory. But in the waiting, you learn the shepherd's voice again. The way that a sheep learns the cadence of footsteps in the dark. The ache isn't proof that you're failing. The ache is proof you're alive, that you're growing, that something is happening underground, roots rearranging, stretching, strengthening, long before a single leaf appears above the surface. And maybe that's all God wants right now, for me to feel the roots taking hold before the branches ever break the light. And here's the truth I forgot on the hard days. I didn't create Sober Shepherds. I received it, like a frequency I finally turned into after years of static. It existed in me 15 years ago. It lived in a previous magazine, the early prototype of this mission. It lived in my recovery writing, the training ground for my voice. It lived in every late night prayer when I didn't know how to keep going. Desperation is often the doorway to calling. It lived in every broken person who called me instead of calling 911, because people go where they feel safe. And they kept coming to me. It lived in me when I fed my daughter chicken nuggets and wondered how God would pull me out of this hole. Sometimes survival seasons are the blueprint for the ministry you'll end up building later. I didn't invent the calling. I just finally stopped running from it. Like realizing the exit I kept missing was actually the one I was supposed to get off of all along. And that's what the ruins were for. The ruins revealed the path I was avoiding. The one that required faith, not security. Calling, not employment. Courage, not comfort. Like switching from cruise control to manual driving. Harder, yes. But now you feel the road. Every ruin teaches a man something about God. He doesn't destroy. He rearranges. Like a carpenter resetting the frame. He realigns. Like a chiropractor straightening what's been crooked for years. He rebuilds. Like a mason relaying a wall that needed a stronger angle. And every rebuild starts with one truth. My life isn't falling apart. It's falling into place. Not on my timeline, on his. The only timeline that isn't rigged by fear. This isn't a setback. It's a redirection. Like a GPS rerouting you after you miss a turn. Annoying, sure, but it still gets you to the same destination. And the ache I feel, it's not punishment. It's the old identity peeling off so the new one can breathe. Like shedding a winter coat in spring. Uncomfortable at first, but exactly right for the season you're stepping into. Because there comes a moment somewhere between the panic and the surrender when waiting stops being torture and starts becoming worship. And it doesn't happen with fireworks. It doesn't happen with trumpets. It doesn't happen with certainty. It usually sounds more like this tiny, tired exhale. Okay, God, I trust you. And the craziest part? The ache doesn't disappear. It just softens. Like a muscle that finally unclenches after keeping itself braced for impact. Not because life gets easier, but because your grip loosens. Like letting go of the steering wheel while you were white-knuckling it, even though the car was already on cruise control. You stopped begging God to deliver the blessing your way, on your timeline, with your blueprint. Like a contractor yelling at an architect for not following the sketches he drew on a napkin. And instead you start saying, shape me while I wait. That's the turning point, the spiritual pivot. Because waiting isn't passive. Waiting is participation. Waiting is the gym where patience gets built. Like lifting emotional weights you didn't sign up for but desperately needed. Waiting is where ego gets stripped. Like sanding down a piece of wood until grain finally shows. Waiting is where faith gets sharpened. Like a dull knife finally being put against the stone. Uncomfortable, yes, but necessary if it's ever going to cut through anything real. Waiting becomes worship when you stop treating God like an Amazon delivery schedule and start treating him like the architect he is. Amazon delivers packages. Architects build houses that last decades. One is convenience. One is legacy. And here's the secret nobody tells you. The blessing isn't delayed. You are being prepared. Your voice is being seasoned. Like cast iron that only gets stronger with heat and time. Your story is being purified. Like raw footage in an editing bay. Trimmed down until only the truth remains. Your people are being gathered. Like sheep drifting towards the sound of a voice they trust. Your purpose is being forged. Like metal shaped in fire long before it ever becomes a tool in someone else's hands. Your foundation is being deepened. Like a tree whose roots grow down before the branches ever risk reaching up. Your pride is being sanded. Like a rough edge smoothed before the final coat of paint goes on. Your vision is being corrected. Like a camera lens slowly clicking back into focus until the blur turns into clarity. And all of it, every uncomfortable ounce, is by design. Because God isn't shaping people into performers chasing applause. He's shaping them into steady, grounded souls who can lead with clarity instead of reacting with chaos. He is forming people who move from experience, not adrenaline, from patience, not panic, from scars, not ego. And people being shaped like that, they start to see life differently. They speak differently. They respond differently. They learn to read the terrain of their own life the way a seasoned traveler learns a familiar road, knowing where the dips are, where the shadows hide, and where the wolves like to linger. Because this season isn't just changing circumstances, it's forming character. It's shaping your voice, your tone, your posture, your strength. It's not punishment, it's preparation. The kind of spiritual alignment that turns ordinary people into steady ones into wise ones, and wise ones into guides for those who come after them. This season is forming something inside you, your voice, your steadiness, your identity, your spiritual authority. It's not punishment, it's calibration, like tuning an instrument before the performance so it can carry the right sound when it matters. So yes, the waiting aches, but the ache is the evidence that you are being shaped by God and not carried by ego. Ego inflates, God forms, and formation always comes with pressure. And here's the wildest part. When waiting becomes worship, you start to notice little miracles that slip quietly into the margins of your life. A friend reaches out at the right moment. Confirmation. A message arrives you weren't expecting. Impact. Someone opens up to you in the way they never have. Purpose. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. A small kindness finds its way to you. A wink from heaven. God moving in the background like a silent stage crew. A door opens you never touched. Favor. It's all small, but it's not small to God. Small is God's way of saying, I'm here. I'm working. Keep going. And the greatest worship of all, the kind heaven leans in to watch, is when a person keeps walking even when the blessing hasn't arrived yet. And that might be where you are right now, walking quietly, steadily, faithfully. And that walk is worship. And here's the part nobody ever sees coming. The blessing isn't at the finish line. The blessing is forged inside the waiting. People assume God rewards them after the suffering, after the struggle, after they prove something. But that's not how God works with people who are called. The real reward is who you become while everything still feels uncertain. Because uncertainty has a way of stripping life down to the studs. And when income, comfort, titles, and false security fall away, there's only one thing left standing: character. And God loves working with character. He builds it the way a carpenter works with hardwood. Strong, tested, durable. He multiplies it like rich soil multiplying seed. He anoints it the way oil slowly soaks into wood, not instantly, but permanently. So the ache you feel right now, it's not punishment. It's not failure. It's not evidence that your calling won't work out. It's evidence you're sitting in the potter's hands, hands that stretch clay. He is stretching you, like a bow being pulled before it releases power. But he isn't breaking you. He is pruning you, the way a gardener trims a tree for future fruit. Not to harm it, but to strengthen it. He isn't rejecting you. He's preparing you for a season you can't see yet. And you're not supposed to. Because if he showed you the full picture right now, you'd rush it. You'd cheapen it. You'd build another straw house just to stop the discomfort. But what he's building in you requires brick. Brick takes time. Brick takes pressure. Brick takes patience. It requires trust, slowness, depth, humility, the kind of faith that keeps moving without needing visible results as proof. And here's the miracle hiding under the ache. Most people don't realize what's happening during the waiting. They think nothing is moving, but something is. Because the people who make it through the season aren't the ones who rush or panic or demand results. It's the ones who don't quit. It's the ones who keep showing up even when nobody is watching the reps. It's the ones who keep planting seeds without any promise of which ones will sprout. It's the ones who keep creating, keep praying, keep serving, keep caring for the people around them, keep walking into cold mornings and heavy evenings, keep laying bricks, even when the work feels quiet and the nights feel long. Most people fold when the applause stops. Most people disappear when the room goes silent. Most people walk away when progress slows. But the ones who stay steady, the ones who keep moving with obedience instead of adrenaline, those are the people God can trust with what comes next. And that steady resilience is the blessing hidden inside the ache. Because the person who survives the ache of waiting Become someone God can trust with whatever comes next. God doesn't place assignments in the hands of cowards. He gives them to survivors, to people who walked through darkness and still choose to speak light. So hear this clearly. You're being positioned. You're not in a drought. You're in a deepening. Roots before fruit. You're not abandoned. You're in apprenticeship, learning the shepherd's voice. You're not falling apart. You're being rebuilt from the ground up. Your calling isn't late. You're right on God's timing, the only timing that produces fruit. And when the season shifts, and it will, you'll look back at this moment and realize the ache was the doorway. The waiting was the preparation. The uncertainty was the teacher. The loneliness was the shaping. The fear was the sharpening. The quiet was the anointing. And one day, you'll hear words you never expected from someone who needed it more than you knew. Your story kept me alive tonight. And in that moment, every mile of waiting will make perfect sense. Because the blessing hidden inside the ache isn't the person you become while you wait. And that steady soul, that shepherd-hearted survivor, is exactly who God intends to use.